The night shift on Outpost K was always quiet, too quiet. The station floated at the edge of mapped space, far from trade lanes and even farther from attention. Most people who lived there did so because they wanted to be forgotten. Ethan Cole was one of them. He sat alone in his small living unit, the lights dim, a cup of reheated synth coffee cooling in his hands. Outside the narrow viewport, stars drifted slowly, cold and distant. The station's internal clock said it was past midnight, but time meant little this far out. Days blended together just like Ethan wanted. He had once been a soldier in the Terran Expeditionary Forces. Once, he had worn armor and carried a rifle across alien worlds. Once, people had relied on him. Now he repaired environmental systems, checked pressure seals, and kept to himself. The station was under night lockdown. No movement between sectors, no visitors, no exceptions. That was why the sound made no sense. A knock, not a buzz, not an alert. A physical knock on his door. Ethan froze. His fingers tightened around the cup. The knock came again, slow, careful, as if whoever stood outside knew exactly how strange this was. No one should be there. His first thought was a system error. His second was worse. He stood up quietly and set the cup aside. His right hand moved to the small locker beside the door. Inside was an old service pistol. It was legal on the frontier, but Ethan had not fired it in years. He checked the charge, steady and calm, the way training never quite left him. "Who's there?" he asked, keeping his voice level. There was a pause, then a voice replied through the door panel. The translator struggled for half a second before smoothing the words into basic English. "I need a favor." The voice was not human. Ethan's breath caught. Alien species rarely came this far out unless they had a reason, and none of those reasons were good. He moved to the side of the door, away from the center, and tapped the panel to activate the external camera. The screen flickered to life. A figure stood in the corridor. Tall but unsteady. Slim limbs wrapped in a dark cloak torn at the edges. The lighting was poor, but Ethan could see faint traces of blue along her skin and the shape of her eyes, larger than a human's, glowing softly. She leaned heavily against the wall, one hand pressed to her side. Dark fluid seeped between her fingers. She was injured. More alarming was the symbol pinned to her cloak. Even with the dim light, Ethan recognized it. A seven-pointed star encircled by a silver ring. Royal insignia. Ethan swore under his breath. Her species, the Larathi, were one of the oldest spacefaring civilizations in the region. Powerful, proud, and not friendly toward humans. Officially, relations were neutral. In reality, humans were tolerated at best and dismissed as fragile at worst. A Larathi royal should not be bleeding in a forgotten human outpost corridor. She shifted her weight, clearly struggling to stay upright. "Please," she said again. "I will not survive much longer out here." Ethan hesitated. Opening the door could ruin his quiet life. It could draw attention. It could get him arrested or worse. Leaving her there would mean death. With a sharp exhale, he unlocked the door. It slid open with a soft hiss. She almost fell inside. Ethan caught her by instinct, the pistol forgotten as he supported her weight. She was lighter than she looked, her body warm despite the chill of the corridor. "Easy," he said, guiding her to the small couch. "Sit." She collapsed onto it, breathing hard. Up close, her injuries were worse. A deep cut along her side, likely from an energy blade. Burn marks along her shoulder. She smelled faintly of ozone and something floral. "Why me?" Ethan asked, already moving to grab a medkit from the wall. Her glowing eyes followed him. "Because you are human, and because you live alone." "That's not an answer. It is enough for now." He knelt beside her and activated the medkit. The scanner beeped as it struggled to adapt to non-human biology, but basic functions still worked. The wound was serious but not immediately fatal. "You shouldn't be here," Ethan said. "This station is monitored." She gave a weak, humorless smile. "So is every other place." He applied a sealing gel, careful and precise. She flinched but did not cry out. "Who are you?" he asked. She was silent for a long moment. Then, "I am Lyrasale of House Valeth." Ethan's hand stopped. House Valeth was not just royal. It was one of the ruling bloodlines of the Larathi Empire. "You're telling me you're royalty," he said slowly, "and you just knocked on a random human's door in the middle of the night." "Yes, that's insane. Desperation often is." He finished sealing the wound and wrapped it in a pressure bandage. "If they're looking for you, they'll find you. This station can't hide you." "They will find me," she agreed. "That is why I must leave soon." "Then why come here at all?" She met his gaze directly. "Because you will help me." Ethan laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough," she said. "You fought in the Helios conflicts. You were discharged after refusing an order to abandon civilians. You requested frontier placement. You have no close ties." His blood ran cold. "That information isn't public." "No," she said softly, "but it exists." He stood up, suddenly very aware of how small the room felt. "You hacked my file." "No, others did. I merely learned from it." "Why?" "Because humans are different," she said. "And you, Ethan Cole, are particularly so." He turned away, jaw tight. "You don't get to say that like it's a compliment." She watched him carefully. "My people believe humans are weak, short-lived, too emotional to matter." "And you disagree." "I believe they are afraid," she said. "Afraid of what humans become when pushed." Ethan did not respond. An alarm chirped softly from the wall console, a passive sensor ping, unregistered ship activity at the edge of the system. Ethan felt a familiar tension settle into his muscles. "They're here already," he said. Lyrasale closed her eyes briefly. "Then I was right to come." He stared at her. "You're bringing a Larathi hunt to my doorstep." "I am asking for a favor," she said again. "Only a favor." "What kind of favor brings an empire down on someone's head?" "One that decides the future," she replied. The station lights flickered as power rerouted. Ethan moved to the console, pulling up external feeds. Multiple signatures now. Larathi patrol vessels running dark. "They violated border protocols," he muttered. "That alone could start something." "They do not care about your laws," she said, "only about silencing me." He glanced back at her. "What did you do?" "I refused," she said simply. "Refused what?" She took a breath. "A lie, one that has lasted centuries." Before he could press her further, the station-wide alert sounded. Low and urgent. "Incoming boarding request." Ethan's heart pounded. If the Larathi boarded the station, they would find her. And him. He made a decision he had not planned to make. "Can you walk?" he asked. "Not far," she said. "Good enough." He moved quickly, grabbing a jacket and a small pack from the locker. He disabled his door log and wiped the last few minutes of internal camera data. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Helping you," he said. "For now." Her eyes widened slightly. "You do not know what you are choosing." "I know exactly what I'm choosing," he replied. "I've done it before." He helped her to her feet and guided her toward the maintenance hatch hidden behind a wall panel. The station was old, full of forgotten paths. As they disappeared into the narrow passage, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside his door. The knock came again. This time it was not polite. And somewhere deep in the station, alarms began to scream. The maintenance tunnel was narrow and cold, lit only by thin strips of emergency light along the floor. Ethan moved carefully, one arm around Lyrasale's back to keep her steady. Her steps were slow, uneven, but she did not complain. Behind them, the sounds of boots and metallic voices echoed through the station corridors. "They are boarding fast," she whispered. "Faster than protocol." "They don't care about protocol," Ethan replied. "They care about you." They reached a junction where 3 tunnels split. Ethan paused, listening. His military instincts guided him more than memory. The station map lived in his head, learned over years of repairs and quiet nights. "This way," he said, turning left. The tunnel sloped downward toward the lower decks, where cargo bays and old hangars sat mostly unused. As they moved, the station shook slightly. A deep vibration passed through the metal walls. "That's a ship docking without clearance," Ethan muttered. "They're forcing it." Lyrasail's grip tightened on his sleeve. "If they take me alive, they will erase everything I know." "What is it you know?" he asked. She hesitated. "Not here." They reached a sealed hatch. Ethan keyed in an override code. The panel blinked red, then green. The hatch slid open, revealing an old cargo bay filled with shadows and dust. Crates sat stacked and forgotten. At the far end, a small utility shuttle rested on its landing struts. Ethan felt a spark of hope. "That thing still fly?" Lyrasail asked weakly. "It did last month," he said. "That's good enough." They hurried toward it. Ethan lowered her gently onto the ramp and rushed to the cockpit. He powered up the systems, praying the station logs would not flag the launch immediately. Outside the bay doors, a loud impact rang out. The metal dented inward. "They are close," Lyrasail said. "I know." The engines hummed to life. Ethan sealed the ramp and strapped her into a seat behind him. As he brought the shuttle off the deck, the bay doors began to open under force. Larathi soldiers flooded the space, weapons raised. Ethan slammed the throttle. The shuttle shot forward just as energy fire streaked past. The bay doors burst open fully, exposing the stars. The shuttle cleared the station with meters to spare. Warning alarms blared. A patrol ship moved to intercept. "Hold on," Ethan said. He dove the shuttle toward the asteroid field surrounding the outpost. The small craft shook violently as debris scraped its hull. Larger ships followed but struggled to match the shuttle's tight turns. "They underestimate human piloting," Lyrasail said faintly. Ethan smiled grimly. "They always do." After several tense minutes, the sensors showed the patrol ships falling back. Either they feared collision or had orders not to risk damage. The shuttle emerged into open space. Ethan set a course away from the system and engaged a short jump. Stars stretched, then snapped back into place. Silence filled the cockpit. Lyrasail let out a long breath. "You have just made yourself an enemy of my empire." Ethan leaned back in his seat. "Wouldn't be the first time someone powerful didn't like my choices." He turned to look at her. Her skin had lost some color and sweat beaded along her brow. "You need rest," he said, "and answers." She nodded slowly. Hours later, the shuttle drifted in deep space, engines low. Lyrasail lay on a narrow bunk in the back, her wound cleaned again and stabilized. Ethan sat across from her, a ration bar untouched in his hand. "Talk," he said. "You owe me that much." She studied him as if weighing something heavy. Then she spoke. "My people teach that humans are insignificant," she said. "Short lives, weak bodies, little patience." "Yeah," Ethan said, "we've noticed." "But before the Larathi rose to power," she continued, "there were records, old ones. Stories of a species that adapted faster than any other, that survived where others failed." Ethan frowned. "You're talking about us." "Yes, humans were there at the edge of many early conflicts, not leading, watching, learning." "So what changed?" "My ancestors erased those records," she said quietly. "They feared a future where humans would not accept subservience." Ethan clenched his jaw. "So you lied about us for centuries?" "Yes." "And the favor?" he asked. "What does that have to do with this?" She met his eyes. "There is a place, older than my empire, older than yours, a structure beyond map space. It responds to humans." Ethan stared at her. "You're saying some alien relic is keyed to humanity?" "Yes, and my people know it. They have always known it." The weight of her words settled heavily. "They plan to destroy it," she continued, "before humans ever learn the truth." Ethan stood and turned away, pacing the small cabin. "And you want me to help you stop them?" "I want you to take me there," she said, "before they do." Ethan laughed bitterly. "You picked the wrong guy. I'm just a mechanic now." She shook her head. "You are a human who chooses others over himself. That is why it will answer you." He stopped pacing. "You talk like this thing is alive." "In a way," she said, "it watches. It waits." A warning beep interrupted them. Long-range sensors lit up. "They found us," Ethan said. 3 signatures appeared, faster ships this time. "They will not stop," Lyrasale said. "Not now." Ethan moved to the controls. "Then we don't run straight." He adjusted the course, sending the shuttle toward a dense nebula cloud. The interference would scramble sensors, but it would also strain the engines. As they entered the cloud, turbulence rocked the shuttle. Colors flashed past the viewport. One of the pursuing ships veered off, losing control. Another followed too closely and collided with charged particles, its shields flaring. The third stayed on them. "Persistent," Ethan muttered. A blast rocked the shuttle, sending alarms screaming. Hull integrity dropped. Lyrasale gripped the edge of her bunk. "If we are captured—" "We won't be," Ethan said firmly. He pushed the engines past safe limits. The shuttle screamed in protest. At the last moment he cut power and let the shuttle drift. The pursuing ship overshot, unable to stop in time. Ethan reignited the engines and slipped away into the nebula's depths. When the danger finally passed, Ethan sagged back in his seat. Lyrasale watched him with something like awe. "You risk everything without hesitation." He shrugged. "Someone once did that for me." They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Lyrasale spoke again. "If we succeed, the galaxy will change." Ethan looked out at the swirling colors beyond the glass. "Then maybe it's time it did." Far away, unseen, signals spread through space. Orders were given. Fleets began to move. And the lie that had hidden humanity's true potential for centuries began to crack. The shuttle drifted out of the nebula battered but alive. Its hull was scarred, engines overheated, and several systems blinked warnings, but it still moved forward. Ahead of them, space looked different. The stars seemed dimmer, stretched thin, as if something far away was pulling at reality itself. Lyrasale watched the readings with quiet tension. "We are close now," she said. "Beyond this point, most navigation systems fail." Ethan adjusted the controls by hand. "Then it's a good thing humans don't trust machines too much." She gave a faint smile. "That trait alone has saved you many times." The shuttle passed an invisible boundary. The stars vanished. In their place was darkness, deep and smooth like a calm ocean at night. At the center of it floated something massive. The structure. It was enormous, larger than any station Ethan had ever seen. It did not look like a weapon or a fortress. It was shaped in slow curves, layered rings turning silently around a glowing core. Light pulsed across its surface like a heartbeat. Ethan felt it before he understood it, a pressure in his chest. Not pain, recognition. Lyrasale whispered, "It has been waiting." As if responding, the structure shifted. A path of light extended outward, stopping just short of the shuttle. Ethan swallowed. "That's new, I'm guessing." "Yes," she said softly. "It has never done that for my people." He guided the shuttle forward. As soon as they crossed into the light, the engines powered down on their own. The shuttle was pulled gently toward one of the rings and settled into a docking cradle that formed from the surface itself. No alarms, no resistance, only silence. Ethan stood slowly. His legs felt heavy, like gravity had changed. "You should stay here," he told Lyrasale. "In case this goes bad." She shook her head. "I came this far, I will see the truth." The hatch opened without a command. Warm light spilled inside. They stepped out together. The surface beneath their feet was smooth and warm, responding slightly to each step. Symbols glowed faintly along the walls, shifting and rearranging themselves. Ethan reached out without thinking and touched one. The structure reacted instantly. Light flared. The symbols aligned into patterns that the translator in his suit suddenly understood, not as words but as meaning. "Welcome," Lyrasale gasped. "It speaks to you." "It's not speaking," Ethan said slowly. "It's listening." The space around them changed. The walls faded, replaced by images. Stars forming, worlds growing, species rising and falling. They saw early humanity, fragile ships, small colonies, humans struggling, adapting, surviving. Then they saw the Larathi, stronger technology, longer lives. fear in their leaders' eyes as they watched humans endure disasters that should have broken them. Lyrasail fell to her knees. "They hid this," she whispered, "all of it." The images shifted again. The structure showed its purpose. It was not a weapon, it was a guardian. Built by a precursor species that had watched the cycle repeat, older powers crushing younger ones out of fear. The structure was designed to intervene, not with destruction, but with balance. It empowered those who chose protection over domination. Ethan felt a pull in his chest, like a question waiting for an answer. Would you protect those weaker than you? Memories flooded him. Civilians left behind, orders refused, lives saved at great cost. Yes, he said aloud. The structure pulsed brighter. Outside, space rippled. Lyrasail staggered to her feet. "They are here." Ethan turned. Through the translucent walls he saw them, a fleet. Not just patrol ships, but war vessels. Larathi banners gleamed along their hulls. "They brought everything," Ethan said. "They will not listen," Lyrasail said, her voice breaking. Even now. A transmission cut through the silence. A Larathi commander appeared in the air, tall and cold-eyed. "Lyrasail of House Valeth," the commander said, "you are ordered to stand down. Step away from the structure." She lifted her chin. "You fear what it shows, that is why you must be stopped." "You have betrayed your people," the commander replied, "and you have involved a human, an insect playing with relics beyond his understanding." Ethan stepped forward. The structure reacted immediately, light wrapping around him like armor. "I understand enough," Ethan said. "You built your power on a lie, and now you're afraid it's ending." The commander laughed. "You think this changes anything? We will destroy the structure." "You can try," Ethan said calmly. The first volley fired. Energy beams slammed toward the structure. They vanished. Not blocked, not deflected. Simply gone. The fleet hesitated. The structure answered. A wave spread outward, touching each ship. Systems shut down. Weapons powered off. Engines went dark. No explosions, no deaths, just silence. The commander stared in disbelief. "What have you done?" Ethan felt the structures were moving through him, not controlling but amplifying. "I chose not to destroy you," Ethan said. "That's the difference between us." Lyrasail stepped beside him. "This is the truth you tried to bury. Humans were never weak. They were patient." Across the fleet, emergency lights flickered. Crews scrambled, alive but powerless. The structure projected a message not just to the fleet but outward, riding signals across space. The truth, records long erased, proof of humanity's role, proof of the lie. Ethan felt the weight lift as the message spread. The commander's image flickered. "You have doomed us." "No," Lyrasail said. "You doomed yourselves when you chose fear." The transmission cut. Slowly, the structure's light dimmed. The walls returned. The images faded. Ethan staggered, suddenly exhausted. Lyrasail caught him this time. "You did it," she said softly. "We did," he corrected. The shuttle was released gently, its systems rebooted, fully repaired. Before they left, the structure gave one final pulse. A simple feeling reached Ethan. You are not alone anymore. They returned to known space, to chaos. News spread faster than fleets. Other species demanded answers. Councils convened. Accusations flew. Humans watched in stunned silence as the galaxy learned who they really were. Lyrasail stood before her people, no longer a fugitive but a witness. She spoke without anger, only truth. Some listened. Some resisted. Change was slow but unstoppable. Ethan returned to Outpost K 17 months later. The station was no longer forgotten. Ships passed nearby now, keeping respectful distance. One night he sat again with a cup of coffee, stars drifting past the viewport. There was a knock on his door. He smiled before opening it. This time, it was not an empire demanding silence. It was the galaxy asking, at last, for humanity's guidance.